The most iconic and well-known figure from the Silent Hill series, Pyramid Head is also one of the most misunderstood. All too often, he's reduced to a mindlessly violent, abusive creature that perpetuates the behaviors his character was created to condemn. His actions in Silent Hill 2 are specific to his role as James's tormentor. The crimes he commits are meant to force James to remember his own darker impulses, and those crimes are later punished when Pyramid Head destroys himself. They are not characteristic of him in general, they are specific to his interactions with James. Off-color, tasteless jokes about his behavior are not only totally inappropriate, they miss the point of Silent Hill 2 completely. Pyramid Head is a creature unlike most of those found in town. Silent Hill's monsters are generally weak, easily killed, and not at all unique. But Pyramid Head cannot be killed by the player, and there are only 2 of him in the game. When he eventually dies, it is only because he destroys himself. He seems aware of the player in a way other monsters are not. Creatures will recognize James is in the room and attack, but Pyramid Head seems to know the player is a sentient being. He watches James from a distance and behaves in ways that are not just violent. Where did Pyramid Head come from? How did he evolve into the creature we first see in the second game? I doubt James is the sole creator of Pyramid Head, or that he is the only one who encounters him, a stance I know many fans disagree with. But even in the canon of Silent Hill 2, there are a dozen clues that Pyramid Head is a creature seen by many, that existed before James. Pyramid Head's image appears in a picture in the Historical Society, and there are theories James could have seen this image during his vacation and have created Pyramid Head from it, but that seems far too convoluted. The easiest explanation, that Pyramid Head has existed and been seen by others in the town for years, makes far more sense. And others do see him. The Walter Sullivan article mentions that the suspect in the murders saw a red devil who terrified him. The director of the hospital says in a letter to James that he also saw the Thing. Notably, Pyramid Head is also known as Red Pyramid Thing. Pyramid Head lingers on after James leaves and is so unique compared to other monsters. I find it hard to believe James had that much of an influence on the town. It's far more likely James influenced Pyramid Head's actions and appearance, but not his existence. Even Masahiro Ito, creator of Pyramid Head, refers to multiple Pyramid Heads on his Twitter and calls some of them James's Pyramid Head. Specifically, he mentions that the Pyramid Head drawn in his comic White Hunter is not James's Pyramid Head. In Silent Hill 2, we see Pyramid Head interacting with James multiple times, leaving him alive each time. He frightens him, forces him to face what he has done, and then leaves. In every occasion they meet, James follows him. Pyramid Head acts as a guiding force, leading James to the truth which will ultimately either condemn or save him. Pyramid Head isn't simply a distant authority handing down a sentence. He interacts with the accused and attempts to lead them to salvation. He carries his own burden as well, acknowledging the fact people are often hurt and killed using his methods. In trying to lead James to salvation, Pyramid Head commits acts of what looks like assault, kills Maria twice, and terrorizes James. While these acts help to save James, they are still crimes, which is why Pyramid Head is seen carrying signs of guilt with his enormous heavy sword and helmet. It's also why he eventually destroys himself. In the Hebrew Bible, the concept of judge is an important part of Jewish history. As a society during ancient times, the people of Israel held themselves to a very high standard. It was vitally important that all Jews serve God and believe solely in God, and if so much as one failed to do so, the entire community would be punished. This is referred to as the Deuteronomist view of history, in which every horrible thing to happen to the Jewish people was a punishment from God, and every good thing was a reward. During a certain time in their history, the Jewish people had a series of judges, historical figures, who were called upon by God to lead the people back to the proper way. Inevitably, people would sin in some way and fall out of favor with the Lord. God would call a judge to rise and lead the people back. A biblical judge is more than a passive figure passing judgment. They were military and religious leaders who led their people into battle. These judges used violence to lead the Jewish people back to the path of righteousness, just as Pyramid Head uses violence to lead James to the path of salvation. So we see Pyramid Head isn't a damnable monster solely interested in tormenting others. He is trying to save James. And if Silent Hill is restricted to only using what is reflected into it, then Pyramid Head is acting the only way he can, with violence and death. His design is simple and absolutely perfect. As a humanoid monster, he represents what we fear most, the darkness inside ourselves. He has no face, no eyes, which makes us uneasy. We can't read him. His mask is a triangle, and in psychology and art, this pointed edge is one that represents danger and fear. It's beautiful in its simplicity, perfectly representing fear in a basic design. Pyramid Head's first appearance in the series is as James's tormentor. In the Woodside Apartments, James hears a horrid scream, and when we find the source, he sees Pyramid Head standing behind a set of bars. This first scene tells us quite a lot about his character. It gives us a hint about Pyramid Head. It's implied Pyramid Head is the one who killed that person, the person that resembles James at the end of the game, hinting that James's fate will come at the judge's hands. It is here that we see Pyramid Head glows a bright red, very like the save points throughout the game. Save points in this series have a special power. Characters mention looking at them gives them headaches, that it feels like something is reaching inside their heads. The implication is that these points are powerful, that the town itself manifests and enters the character's mind. This visual manifestation of the town's spirit seems to exist in Pyramid Head as well. Throughout 2, Pyramid Head is a driving force, moving James in specific directions. In the apartments, he appears 3 times, each time moving in the direction James must go. At the end of the level, he acts as a boss, but not in a traditional way. Instead of having to overcome him, James must simply survive him. At the end of the fight, James follows Pyramid Head out of the building, beginning the trend of allowing Pyramid Head to lead him towards redemption. In the hospital, it's Pyramid Head who throws James off the roof, allowing him access to a previously locked area needed to move forward. At the end of the level, he chases James and Maria down a long hallway, both leading them in the right direction and killing Maria. In doing so, Pyramid Head keeps Maria from distracting James, allowing him to ignore his guilt and pain, as her presence assuages him of both. In the labyrinth, he is the monster in the maze, James's Minotaur, driving him towards the ending. The last time they face off is in the Lakeview Hotel. He finds 2 Pyramid Heads with Maria, who is strung upside down and then killed by Pyramid Head using a spear. In the fight that follows, James defeats Pyramid Head by inflicting a certain amount of damage without dying. Eventually, they will impale themselves upon their own spears. The dialogue that precedes this battle is interesting and gives a vital look to Pyramid Head's role in the game. James says he needed the monster to punish him because he was too afraid to punish himself. He desired to forget and to be made to suffer for his crime. Pyramid Head allowed him this, allowing him to forget the crime for a time, while also punishing him as he desired, forcing him to remember once he was ready. The monster quite literally does exactly what James wants him to.